students. Welcome, Hoshamdeep and Hosh Galdanis. Today we are going to discuss Impressionism. As we all know that Impressionism is basically an art movement. Impressionism is a 19th century art movement. It was first appeared in art and paintings, and it is basically associated with French art critic Louis Leroy. The background of Impressionism is somehow like that in and around 1860 or 61, there was a group of young artists who decided to paint very simple. Means they decided to paint what they saw, what they thought, and what they used to feel regarding different phenomena, either social or natural. Impressionists, they were least interested in painting history and mythology. They were not intended to see greatness, in fact. That's why they did not paint the lives and paintings of great men or any historical figure. What they wanted was simply to put life on the canvas as they perceived it, as they found it, as they saw it. In Impressionistic paintings, those artists, means the Impressionists, they used loose brushworks and they rejected the notions of clarity. That's why their paintings are hazy, and they were frustrated with the idea of putting clarity in the thing, because according to them, that clarity of the painting was actually something created with the help of artificial amendments. So they rejected the notions of clarity, and they aimed to paint the real. Their sole aim was to paint the real life, the real scenarios, the reality as they saw it. So, in all the Impressionist paintings, we find them in a very hazy and fleeting sort of nature and manners, because the Impressionists, they are against the clarity, because to them clarity is created artificially, or it creates artificiality. So their sole aim is to create reality with the help of their images, with the help of their paints, with the help of their brushes. So they want to paint reality, and that's why in all the Impressionist paintings we find the hazy and simple loose brushworks in order to give the message of reality. So to them clarity is not reality. That's why that hazy thing in their painting represents the picture of reality. So Impressionists aim to paint reality. When we talk about Impressionism in literature, then there are certain characteristics of Impressionist literature. There are some writers, some novelists who follow this technique of Impressionism in their writings. Let's discuss the literary descriptions of Impressionist works or Impressionism. In literature, Impressionism means a writing style that solely aims to use abstract objects in order to convey the real meanings. They use abstract and ambiguous descriptions of the events and incidents in order to compel the reader to think on the issue of reality. It intends to convey the subjective point of view, I mean, the point of view of the author, with the help of abstract and ambiguous associations between the characters and the incidents. It compels the reader to think on the aspects of how and why. Let's discuss it in simple words that Impressionist works in literature, they have a notion. They they use abstract ambiguous descriptions and narrations of characters and events, but yet they use something sensory in them. But their sole aim is to compel the reader to think on the aspects of how and why. How a character is behaving in a certain way or in a particular way, or how and why the character is behaving in the particular way, what has happened to that character in the very text that has made him or her to behave in the very manner. It imparts meanings by adopting a unique narrative style. The meanings in that narrative style, they are kept in abstract, they are kept ambiguous. In fact, author just leaves the understanding on the reader. And he writes in a way that he forces the reader to read between lines. The description of events and characters in Impressionist texts are hazy and fleeting, yet sensory, because they portray the character and events in a way that the reader has to think deeply on them, has to think or rather rethink on the situations that happen with a character in a text again and again to reach to the towards the real meanings, or to reach to the real conclusion, or to understand the real picture of or the scenario of a text. Instead of literal meanings, the Impressionist writers, they aim to show the situations and incidents and experiences of the characters to mold the picture or the scenario of the text. In other words, we can say that the Impressionist writers, they aim to represent the situations and events of their writings in a way that they form the picture of the text. Like they try to convey their meanings with the help of the experiences of the protagonists and with the help of the experiences of the characters, or whatever happens with the character in a text determines the actual aim of that very text, the actual meaning of that very text. Events and situations are not described in a chronological way in Impressionist works. Rather, they are, as I have already told you, represented in a hazy and a fleeting manner. This technique is adopted because it compels the reader to ponder on how and why things occur in a particular way, and why to why do the things happen in that way. In an Impressionist work, we can say that details are represented not in a chronological order but in a strategic way. That strategic way is actually the roadmap of the writer to lead the reader towards the actual meanings and intentions of the text. In this way, they can make their reader, or they can force their reader to stop and think on the situation by time and again moving back to see the whole scenario of the situations of the text and the whole scenario of the character. If a character is behaving in a particular way, then why he or she is behaving in a particular way, what has been happened with that very character, and whatever he is doing, what are the outcomes of that very thing, they are represented, they are left on the reader to understand. Let's come to the details of those writers of English literature who can be considered or who fall into the category of Impressionist writers. The first one is Joseph Conrad, and his Impressionist work is Heart of Darkness. In the very text, we can find the incidents and events and situations happening in a strategic way, not in a chronological way. And in the whole scenario of the text, he means Conrad tries to make the reader to think that whatever happens with the character of Kurtz, it happens due to the experiences he has to go through in the area of Congo. The second Impressionist writer is James Joyce, and his works that fall into the category of the Impressionism or Impressionistic works, they are the portrait of an artist as a young man in Ulysses. Third one is Henry James, and his work is the portrait of a lady. So all of these writers, they are considered impressionist writers with due to the techniques they have utilized in the text to clarify the meanings or to convey the understandings of the text and to convey their notions towards any phenomenon they have discussed in their text. So this was all about Impressionism. I have a plan to discuss all these isms with you guys in my next videos. So see you in the next video with some new ism or with some new topic. Thank you so much for today. Allah Hafiz.